And welcome everyone to Overwatch World Cup 2023 APAC Group A Qualifiers. My name is G-Clef. With me, we have Unknown. We are back for the qualifiers, and it's going to be APAC Group A with stacked countries fighting for those top 3 spots.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting. We've been casting Overwatch Contenders APAC, which is very fun. Which was very fun, and it's also going to be very fun watching these teams and players representing their nations. And we have a banger of a game of series.
We're going to be going through all the teams. Actually, we have 3 matches, so we will get to have all 6 teams, all 6 countries actually representing, and we'll get to talk about the teams a little more. Of course, we kind of skip the patch and we're on the live patch basically, so there has been a lot of changes. We'll talk about that too, and I'm actually very excited to be back right after mid-season madness. That was really cool last week, and right after that we're continuing with the World Cup qualifiers. I mean, it's basically a 24-hour non-stop stream right now.
Yeah, so EMEA, APAC A and B.
APAC B first and then A.
And then there's also Americas.
Yeah, America's happening later.
There's a lot of Overwatch coming for you, and I know a lot of you are here for the drops. And so there will be plenty of matches and broadcast time for your skin needs. And we definitely have to talk about the patch, G-Clef, because we've been through 2 patches before the last competitive season.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of you guys, of course, we all have our favorite heroes, and when it gets nerfed, slightly worse. But when it gets buffed, then maybe it's time to pick up on those new heroes. Like Jung Queen, she's gone through a lot of changes, so I think that's certainly one of the heroes that we do have to talk about.
So Junker Queen went through a lot of changes, mostly buffs. There has been 2 patches. One was a huge buff, and then one was a slight nerf. But overall, it's still, I think, Junker Queen's really strong. The healing from her wound damage is now 200%, which means that she can even... Junker Queen was able to survive a lot of 1v4s and 1v5s, maybe. And we'll talk about the patch a little bit later, but G-Clef, can you walk us through this overview here?
Yeah, of course, you're going to be seeing a lot of these for the rest of the qualifiers. Of course, we have the different regions, and we are in the middle there, APAC-A. Actually, we get top 3 teams. So depending on some regions, A will have top 3 teams, but the B section, Group Bs, will only have top 2 teams from the pool that they actually have. So don't get confused between those. And then once they move up from there, then we'll have the group stage and then the final stage, which is going to happen later. But the qualifiers, that's going to be happening for 2 weeks. And it's going to be full of live patch matches, so you can actually learn and get to figure out a lot of the things that you can immediately implement in your gameplay.
Exactly. Even the previous matches in the other regions, we've seen a lot of different compositions that was coming from that we've been not seeing on Overwatch Contenders, Overwatch League, and all sorts of other competitions. Like, for example, we've seen a lot of Pharmacy recently, and also a lot of Rush using frequently, a lot of the Cassidy used as well. A little less of the double flankers because of the Cassidy. We'll talk about those as the patches go on, but I mean, TLDR, we are seeing a lot of compositions here, and we are up for a lot of Overwatch action here.
Today's going to be the first day of APAC Group A here, and I know we go move between the region, and you might be confused, but just have this channel all the time. Then eventually you're going to figure out how things go. And of course, the map pool, because it is first to 2, not first to 3. We will have first going for Control, Hybrid, Escort if you go to 4th, and Push map if we actually go all the way there.
So there is a little bit of a curveball here for the Overwatch World Cup qualifiers. So first map is Control, and the loser of the first map gets to choose the map type between Hybrid and Escort. Previously, in our first to 3 format, it was Control, Hybrid, Escort, and then Push. But for this format specifically, the losing team can choose whether they want to play Hybrid or Escort, which may actually change a lot of things. Map 3 will be Push, but this is a very interesting format because a lot of these teams haven't been playing together and for a long time, like professional teams, and they have very clear weaknesses and clear strengths. So it's really interesting to see what kind of maps, what kind of compositions they will come up with.
Yeah, because that's a very interesting point, because some of these teams actually qualified back in February. and so some March. So and then thinking about that, there were some roster changes in the middle. We'll talk about that as we go through the rosters too. So depending on what they choose, they have to choose their best map. But if they actually won the first map, then there's a higher chance of actually going into that third map, which is going to be push. So we can talk about the maps a lot more. But this is today's schedule, as we said. These are all the teams in Group A APAC. So make sure you keep an eye on these. If you have your favorite team, root for the team. We're always reading chat at the same time. But look at these stacked teams. Philippines, Japan up first. Hong Kong, Indonesia second. And man, the third, South Korea versus Chinese Taipei.
So I do have,
What are you going to say? Okay, spit it out. Just do it.
Well, I'm Korean, so I do have a little bit of bias towards Korea, but of course I will do my I will do my job very professionally. However, we do have, like you said, G-Clev, a banger of 3 matches here. Philippines, Japan was recently featured in a lot of the APAC contenders, APAC action. Hong Kong, Indonesia, all teams that also do have several players playing on the contenders level. South Korea is basically an Overwatch League team. Chinese Taipei also with a very stacked roster. So I do think I can make some predictions out of this. There are some favorites here into these matchups.
Certainly.
However, I do think that all the teams, all the matches have the potential to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to be not just 1, not just 2. It's going to be 3 teams actually making out of this group stage. So you do want to get your spot in top 3. But we're starting off today. It is going to be Philippines. Team Philippines versus Team Japan. And this is quite going to be quite a banger because how we start. Because Japan, we already know from the APAC, it's going to be Veryl that we just had from APAC Summer Series not too long ago. Actually, just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Veryl. So the entire Japanese team is going to be the entirety of Veryl, which plays second on the APAC Overwatch Contenders APAC Summer. And also they did pretty well on Spring. But look at this roster from the Philippines here. Currently there aren't a lot of players that are playing on the professional level right now, but they do have some experienced members in Chun-Li. So she was in Brainlets. I think the earlier version of Brainlets. So that brings a lot of experience, and I'm just ready to be surprised of what this roster can bring.
Yeah, also all the way left on Redux was actually a team Philippines member back in 2019, so which was the last World Cup.
Yeah.
So basically, he's back again to represent Philippines, and let's see how we actually do. And their opponent, of course, we've seen this roster just 2 weeks ago, and they did pretty well. Almost took the entire thing, but just came a little short, going all the way to map 7 against Kraken.
So this roster is a little bit more familiar to fans who are watching the competitive scene, competitive leagues of Overwatch. Nico, Kuki, all very good players. KSG, a phenomenal tank player. Mint and Cloud, also very good support players. However, my main concern here is that although Japan is our favorites here, I would consider them favorites, they do have history of being reverse swept. So they do have a little bit of, they do need to figure out how to close out winning a series, or they might be actually in for real trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome because Philippines, they did go through their open trials, and even though it was not a flawless run through, but still, one of their biggest opponent was actually WB40, and they actually beat them twice with a pretty big score. So certainly a deserving team to be in the qualifier. Let's see how well they can actually do against Team Japan here, because we've seen what Team Japan was able to do not too long ago. For Philippines, it's been a while, right? It's been a while since that open trial. I'm pretty sure they did their practice on the new format and everything with the new patch. But we just have to, this is going to be the day, because it's the first day. We're going to be removing what's been covered one by one and see, this team can actually make a lot of things work. Like, this is a pretty cool comp. Like, the things that we might not know yet, we're about to find that out soon.
Yeah, it's really interesting for me to see. I'm really wondering how both teams kind of have their read on the current meta right now, because it is going to be the live patch. And I think Philippines did have a little bit more time preparing on the live patch, because Team Japan, who is literally Team Viral, was practicing on a previous patch because of Overwatch contenders, which is also a very important part of their competitive career. So Philippines do have the upper hand in a little bit of preparing and meta preparation. It's just really interesting to see what they will bring up. I do see Nico and Kuki on the starting roster right now, so maybe I do suspect a double flanker, which is which is the vestiges of previous metas. But if right now, I think for the Cassidy buffs, really kind of hinders a lot of the strengths of the double flankers. So it'll definitely be interesting to see because Mihawk is also on the roster and very prominent hit scan as well. Mihawk's not on the starting 5 for this control map, so it'll definitely be something.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. And also, Nico was actually the Tracer God on the team. Literally saved the team from losing the entire match. On the clutch moment, Nico would be alive somehow. He would be winning 1v3 duels. He was winning some of those Lighthouse, like taking the control map by himself at the end. We thought the match was over, but Nico pulled it at least 2 or 3 times in that entire tournament. But Tracer, not as strong anymore. There was a slight nerf on the spread, which I think is actually pretty huge. If you think about the range and all the damage exactly. And also Cassidy, I think there are a lot of more counters, a lot of other DPSs that are usable, and also actually a lot of DPS actually went up in a higher tier, and so to say. And Tracer kind of coming down from that God tier. Slightly. So I think they're all mix and done, and Nico might actually have to pull something else other than Tracer that might actually bring them down in terms of the entire power level as Team Japan.
Yeah, so just to kind of elaborate on what the patch was for Cassidy is that Cassidy's grenade has been altered a little bit, so the damage was nerfed a little bit, but it has a new status effect called Hindered. And while you're hindered, it just hinders, well, for the namesake, all kind of movement abilities. So no Tracer Blink, no recall, not even the TP from Sombra. So if used correctly, I think this will be a really, really big counter to the double flankers that we've been seeing a lot on the contender scene and also in the Overwatch League scene as well. So that is a big. I think that's one of the big game changers here. We haven't seen a lot of Cassidy on the Overwatch qualifiers so far, as I've known.
Only a few. I actually didn't get much of sleep because I've been watching all the games for the last, I guess, 16 hours ish. But a few Cassidys, not too many. But a lot more Fire Mercy, and also some Echoes.
Yeah, Echo's actually a good point, G-Clef, because Echo has been buffed a lot as well, especially for the ultimate charge. Echo has Echo can charge her ultimate really, really quickly now. I think that was a 20% or 15, at least 15% buff for the ult charge. So having that early copy will be really, really important. And also on maps like Ilios and maybe even some Kings Row, I think Echo could be a good Joker card.
Yeah, I think there can be a lot more pairs. I think Sombra is still unchanged, so we did see a lot of Sombras coming out from the other regions, so I expect that to be about the same, but it's going to be the pair. Who do you pair up Sombra with? Those ones in the air, or Hanzo? Slight nerf. Personally not a big fan, but because never touch Hanzo. Hanzo's always great.
By the way, guys, this guy is a Hanzo main, so don't listen to him.
I'm a Hanzo main. I'll confess, guys, and I'm proud of it. Okay.
But yeah, I do think that G-Clef has a really good point in a sense that Hanzo is a good DPS right now, especially also because Widowmaker is really, really nerfed right now.
That's a good point.
Her damage fallout. According to the distance, has really scaled off. So from what I'm seeing on my notes, my secret notes here right now is that her damage fall off starts early, and then the damage fall off is increased. So at 60 to 70 meters, you cannot one-shot a 200 HP support.
Yeah, and also, like, if we say 50 to 70, you actually can't really tell exactly. You have to be in-game, so the range that you thought you'd be okay before is totally not okay. You have to cut down that distance by basically like half almost to get the same damage that you wanted before.
Pretty much, because if you're closer than 60 to 7 meters and you're a Widowmaker, then you're probably kind of in trouble, right?
Yeah, goodbye Widow mains.
That's not a good position for a Widowmaker to be in. So Widowmaker is, I mean, of course, even though she still has that one-shot potential,
Oh, yes,
and even
certainly.
in close range, and also does a lot of damage to tanks if headshot correctly. But I do think that she doesn't have the I guess oppressiveness that she had, especially on some maps like Havana, and that kind of leads us to some kind of speculation for me that maybe some form of rush like Ramatra might be used a little bit more frequently. I did see a lot of, like you said, pharmacy and ball comps a little bit, or maybe even the Orisa. But in the end, I do think that we will be deviating a little bit from the classic Winston double flanker comp. Maybe Varel does want to use it
Maybe
a little
bit. Yeah, there were some great moments from the tank, from especially from Team Japan, using a lot of Matra plus the Winston. But because of the amount of Winston that we actually saw in the tournament, we're having a lot more Reapers. Even though Reaper did get some change in the Wraith form, but I think I don't think it's too much of a nerf in a way, right?
Oh, well, yes, in a sense that I think it's more targeted for the casual user base, because this was the same change for the Mora and the Reaper, in that when you're already movement hindered, for example, if you're Graviton surged, or if you're hit by a Cassidy grenade, you're not able to pop up that movement ability, which is the fade for the Mora, and also the Wraith form for the Reaper. So again, I think it's not like a really big change compared in like top tier level, but a change is a change. And we are hearing that we do have a little bit of technical issues.
We have news for you guys. Go ahead.
All right, so we do have a little bit of issues on the technical side for Philippines. We are taking a little bit more time, so that means a little bit more talking time for us.
Yeah, which means that I'm sure you guys don't want to see our faces as much, but I understand exactly.
I do want to see your face.
I do look at mirrors every morning. Well, not every morning. I wake up in the afternoon. Whatever. But we're hearing that we're having some technical issues with connection issues with the players, so we might have some starting roster changes because of this issue. So as soon as we get that sorted out, we will be moving into our first map, which we don't know exactly yet, but we're solving that issue right now. So we have this time to talk about the patch, which is actually great because we had a lot of changes within the two patches. And of course, what about Genji? How come that Ninja actually gets a slight buff that no one actually notices?
Well,
but only Genji mains, they're pretty happy about it because they get to throw more shurikens.
So Genji had a little bit of I think it's actually a really big buff,
I think it's
in a sense that he has
yes.
6 more shurikens, which means that he has 2 more shots in both the alt fire and the primary fire. I think that could be a big difference to a lot of the Genji mains out there. Unfortunately, I don't think that Genji will still be meta. I mean, yes, if you are a player like Nico and you can play Genji out of your mind.
Well, we do have Shanlian coming out later, so just wait for him, and then we can start talking about Genji at that moment. And we have our first map. It is going to be the Control, and Ilios will be our first map out of potentially the third. And how do you think about this one? Do you think we'll be seeing some units flying in the air a lot more?
Definitely so, because Echo, like we mentioned, G-Clef is buffed a lot, and Pharah is also viable depending on what kind of map it is. If it's Well or Lighthouse, I do think that it's going to be okay. So we might be seeing a lot of we might be seeing a lot of flyers here, and also I don't know, maybe Divas here.
Yeah, Diva certainly is going to be one of the tank potentially available. Depends on the comp that they will bring. We'll see as we load into our first map, Ilios and Philippines.
Okay, so for what we're seeing on the harbor right now, Philippines is going with the Winston composition. However, they are making a slight variance with the Echo, and Japan is going with the double flankers.
Oh yes, still having the Crusader Sombra, which worked weeks ago, but on a different pack, so we'll see how well this works. By the way, Philippines, they did have Chun-Li actually not making it in. Instead, we do have Grandy Sato.
Yeah, so the technical issues, I think, made Comp Ops make a decision here. So I think there was maybe Chun-Li was unable to be on the lobby, so we hope that those issues are fixed real soon. But for now, Philippines, I think, has won the initial gamble for the composition. However, Japan is showing why they are the favorites right now for this match.
They go right next to KSG, putting all the damage sorts. Reduck has to recall all the way out. His teammate not really nearby. Oh, there's Echo on top, but you do have to go inside if you want to actually do some damage.
So for the Philippines right now, there are currently no members on the side of Japan that could actually really threaten the Echo Mercy, but they do have to make the most out of it because on the neutral fight, Japan is the stronger team. So they Philippines do have to make the most out of the Echo Mercy if they want a chance in this match.
Yeah, Echo Mercy certainly a DPS that can work in theory, but if Team Japan, if they hide and just don't come out towards the range against that Echo, they can actually be safe.
And also Kuki here with the early EMP. So I don't think Philippines will be expecting this because their ult levels are so low. And Kuki already has this EMP. So they don't even need it because Nico is being a god. Here's his EMP and they clean house. And that is going to be at least a 60 to 70% percentage for Japan.
Already, that EMP seemed like it wasn't even needed in a lot of ways, but just gonna pop it easy.
Oh, Pugbutt is having a bad time here. So, credit to Japan. Okay, that was a cheeky place for the Chaser to be in. But Japan is in a positional advantage right now on the defense. Oh, there is... Oh, wow. So Pugbutt is taken down early as well. So Philippines does not have a tank. And there's the copy and a couple of kills to follow up. So maybe the Philippines finally can have a foothold on the point.
They did spend a lot of ults, but it was costful, but still they needed to get their feet in the control point. There's Team Japan with a lot, and there's an annihilation. KSG is just going to pop it, wants to control back immediately because his teammates are quite away from him at the moment. Kyuki all the way in the back. Sombra picking up 2 kills on DPS.
Okay, so Japan is using their ultimates a little bit undisciplinedly, but they still are winning these fights, so they can't complain. Because I don't think the annihilation was immensely of value, but still, even without the ults, Kuki and Nico are making these fights happen.
Yeah, still, that was enough, and Team Japan running away with that first score against the Philippines. Oh, that was actually quite one-sided as we thought. Echo comp could have been really good, but Team Japan, they actually they were hiding behind the pillars. They actually didn't really put them into the fighting zone. I think that was the biggest chance that they actually had.
So yes, it was a really dominant display from Japan, especially in the comp-wise. I did think Philippines did have the upper hand comp-wise, but Japan, well, credit to Japan for forcing Philippines not to make the most out of it. So even in this composition right now, it's pretty much the opposite because, especially on the tank side, because KSG is playing the Winston and Pugbutt is playing the Ramatra. However, I do think it's going to be the same kind of play because Japan is going to play around their DPSs and Philippines has to keep Pugbutt alive if they want a chance.
Yeah. So swapping into Ramatra. Oh, that was a nasty grenade from Q Loud there. Diving in at the exact same time. That teamwork was totally there that Genji walked. Couldn't really deliver anything in that first play. So again, the first capture will be for Japan here.
Again, if you look at Kuki, he is hacking the right targets at the right time. So although Kuki is not making the kills happen some of the times, especially on Well right now, but they are forcing Philippines out of position, and which is what Japan needs because everyone else on the team can make those kills happen. Sombra doesn't. If Sombra can make that kill, that's totally fine. That's even better. But even if they can't, just forcing them out of position, and there is the Genji gone again. Wuk is not being a menace at all towards the backline of Japan because that's what they need. They need to be a threat to the Japanese backline if they want anything to happen.
That's exactly what they were missing, Philippines. They needed some more DPS along 2 actually grab a kill onto either the Winston, which is pretty easy because they do have Reaper. And here's the
What
kill
goes
again from
down
Yuki.
again?
Philippines are losing a lot in time because it's already 52% on the other side.
Oh, this is being a massacre here.
So they need to make a switch right now because that Genji has been having no impact whatsoever.
And Genji's ult levels are almost at default levels, so it's 30%. And while Nico already has the pulse bomb and 81% on that EMP. So a lot of fight value for Japan as well. So now it's not going to be even the neutral fight, but also the ult fight is in favor of Japan. The Philippines needs to pull a miracle here.
Okay, here's the dive with the Reaper and the Winston, but the Reaper is going to go down to too loud. Actually, kill picked up by Anna. And Genji here, not alive for too long. GSG still on Primal. Primal's over now, but the entire team fight is over. That's the entire team wipe going for Japan again. 91%. Can Philippines turn this around? It's going to be the entire map.
Can they even touch? That is going to be the question. And oh, the stuck to the Reaper denies the touch. And that is going to be an easy 2-0 for a first map on Japan.
Man, Japan, we've seen their play not too long ago, and still sticking with that, the team comp that worked with a different patch, but still seems pretty good to me. I mean, whatever works, unless it's broken, like we don't have to really fix it. And it worked perfectly against Philippines. And Philippines, they didn't really get their big chance, especially on the second map, to do anything. I don't think it was a big risk to bring Genji first of all, I think. But maybe having a quick shift in the hero pool, I think, might be needed in the next map if they want to compete against Japan.
I do think that on the side of Philippines, they do need to kind of figure out what they want to do. It looks like they're really disoriented in what they want to do because sometimes they're looking at the backline. Genji is isolated. Philippines, especially on Philippines Genji was kind of trying to look at the backline, but was isolated and then caught out. And on Lighthouse, they were trying to go for the front lane fight, and the team wasn't coordinated. So I think a little bit of better, I guess, coordination is kind of in order for Philippines and Japan. I think they're holding their cards here. I do think that they did bring a lot. They did prepare a lot for the live patch. They're just playing on the previous patch because number one, they're used to it, and number two, they don't need to pull out the new cards yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what Team Japan should be thinking right now, as they single-handedly, basically, that was the second one, of course, was 100-0, but the first one was actually not too well. I'll be honest, it was still kind of one-sided, right? So Philippines, I think this is a good time to actually adjust to think about, because they get to choose the second, and it's going to be either hybrid or escort. So it depends on the map, and maybe they can pull out their best comp. I think this has to be it, because we're not playing first to 3. We're playing first to 2, and every single of these matches actually matter for you to get out of these qualifiers. So I think Philippines, they have to really spin their heads right now.
Exactly. So Philippines, I think it will be making the choice for the map type and map. And like you said, G-Clef, this is very important because every map matters, especially now that in this group 3 teams will advance. Even map differentials may even matter, especially because there are 2 clear favorites in this group, which is I'll risk it. I'll risk my neck and say this: South Korea and
not your neck, please. Maybe a hair.
Okay, maybe. So Japan and Korea are clear favorites for this group, and I think it's the fight for 3rd place. And for that, losing, even if you lose. If you win, that's totally great. Even if you lose, getting to the full extension of the match, meaning that you get less roll through and map differentials, is really important for that qualification spot.
Yeah, I think everything matters. Every single point, every single kill does matter. It leads into you every single percentage. I think that's realistically what you should be aiming for. I do agree. I think we have really high up there the 2 clear favorites in our group. Group A of APAC, but the 3rd place, of course, you have to, as long as you go into that 3rd place, so you still get out here.
Yeah,
so
I mean, being qualified and not being qualified are 2, like, they're just different. They can't be the same. So it does matter, and for Philippines, I hope they do come up with something that can counter the Japanese aggression here.
Yeah, I think Philippines, it depends on the map, really. Echo, it can actually work better if you think about some escort map that you you can think of, and also in push when we potentially get into push, but certainly it did not really work in that lighthouse at all. And depending on the comp, I think Japan was just slightly more ready in terms of team comp, and we did see some pretty good moments of Reaper and Winston diving in at the same time from Philippines, but Japan, they were overall ready for that dive. Exactly. It was like, oh, come at us. We were actually ready for you. Like there was an anti grenade at the same time with the Winston dive from Japan. So the power level, we could see the difference here in the first map. But we'll see what happens in our second map potentially. Because I think there are some substitutions happening. That's why we're actually taking some more time before we're going to jump into the second map, which I don't know what it
Spill
is
it.
exactly.
Spill it. I dare you.
I read it, but I did see it on screen, but I want to see it pop it on our screen.
I'll keep that spoiler alert. All right. So I'll do this though. It is an escort map. I'll give you that.
Oh, really?
It is.
Then I have no idea what it is.
Okay, never mind. No, but I do think it does make sense, depending on what was being shown in the Philippines. Here it is, Watch Point Gibraltar. So this to me feels like Philippines wants to play the Winston again. And there's also a substitution now that Chun Li is playing again.
Okay.
So apparently, I hope that his technical issues are fixed. So this is going to be what the Philippines was meant to start as their starting 5. So we'll see. I do still think that they'll run a Winston comp though.
Yeah, Winston comp, I think it's still really good. Reaper, I think, was the right choice because KSG's Winston was actually I think KSG actually overall, even in APAC Summer Series from Contenders, one of the best tank for sure, because this guy called KSG can actually match your team, and also a good Winston always comes back to you without dying. And that was just KSG.
Okay, no substitutions on the Japanese side. It looks like Japan is going attack, so they might change their composition while they're hovering it, but as you can see, Philippines is still going to run the same compositions that they were trying to run.
And I do think, especially coming into Overwatch 2, the backline, the two supports, there's a lot of responsibility that you do have to take care of. Depending on how strong the backline is, a lot of fights actually change.
We saw the importance of the backline during the mid-season madness in the Overwatch League. So, like you said, Jiglip, it is going to be very, very important. And I see I was about to mention the Symmetra, but there is the Tracer now, and both Echoes on the team. Philippines has the Hanzo, so maybe that one-hit potential might be what they just need to unlock Japan. Yeah, looks like Kuki's going to swap into something else. Okay, there is that Sombra there. So again, Japan is going with that double flanker.
Yeah, after checking out the composition of Philippines, Kuki just going with the Sombra. Had a pretty good time in the last match. So buy some time, make sure you have your positions, and make sure the Tracer Sombra can actually rotate, go around. Still, there's that Tracer pushing the payload a little bit.
They got through that bridge, so that is a first.
A walked Redux? Oh no, Sombra actually took care of both, basically.
Okay,
with Winston.
Both DPS is down for the side of the Philippines. They do have to fall back if they want a chance for that recontest. It looks like they can, and first point is going to Japan. 5.5 minutes on the time bank for Japan.
And Japan actually leaving that Winston all the way up to mess up with the respawns. They're pushing a little too far, but okay, as long as you keep on getting the kills, I guess it's okay. But Philippines, what do they actually have to do in this case?
I think Philippines does need to kind of agree on what their intent is. Right now, Philippines is being like, hey, do we want to do the front lane fight, or do we want to jump on their back line? I don't think the entirety of the team is on sync right now. It's on
way too strong. This cannot be handled well from Philippines. I think they really have to take care of the back line first. There was QT plus KSG diving at the same time. That leads into 3 kills. Well, Hanzo was up there, but not anymore.
Wow, okay, and that was, I believe, Japan didn't even use a single ult here.
It was a highway.
It was Liz. We call this a highway. And there is that EMP there, and that Pulse takes out Pugbutt, and everyone on, well, not everyone, but okay, now everyone on the Philippines falls down, and that is early point B by Japan.
This is Gibraltar. This is literally highway all the way in, and this is the best because the other few, like Anna, they can actually push all the way from back and still support the team.
Oh, Redux down again, and they're moving towards the final point, and Philippines is struggling to even have their first ultimates online.
And this is painful because Pugman is getting hacked all the time, and that's Nano this time.
Oh, good sleep on the Winston there.
Yeah, we'll buy a lot of time and waste a lot of that nano time at the same. So Winston doesn't die. Pugman still stays alive for now, but because
now it's Japan's time to take the Nano Winston, and KSG is doing a lot of damage there. Nico turning everyone back to their spawn.
Oh, now
this is gonna be a free roll into the end.
Yeah, Philippines, they can barely come out of the spawn. This is a disaster. Here's KSG popping it, so you don't actually get to even come out from your respawn, and that's a full push with 447.
Okay, I need confirmation here. Is this the biggest time bank for Gibraltar? I need to know. Let me get back to you after asking production here.
That was nasty. There's just not as much cover. There's Hanzo, but Hanzo's risky. If you miss your shots, it's not as good.
So
that was part of the highlights.
So okay, Kuki, credit to Kuki for doing a phenomenal job on the Sombra, but I do want to praise Japan and their coordination here, because in that highlight play, KSG blocked all sorts of healing with that bubble here, and that's the sort of coordination that Philippines need if they want to run a dive comp.
Okay, let's see the competition from Japan. Now as we flip sides, as they're defending.
Okay, we are seeing, I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
We are seeing the Cassidy here.
The cowboy.
Maybe in hopes to kind of suppress the double flankers.
You can literally just headshot and get one DPS down, easy. If you can get that headshot, easy.
But the thing is, Japan is not running a double flanker. They are running the Echo. Of course, there isn't the Mercy, so not a lot of damage boost unavailable for that Echo. However, I do think that it's not going to be as effective as it should be against the double flankers.
Okay, Japan, they do check out the team comp. Philippines coming out. Pretty hot. Still having a walk on Tracer. Does manage to survive and goes all the way back. Pretty dangerous as there's not much cover if you are alone in that angle. Away from your double support line.
Okay, so Philippines is moving to trying to take position on the high ground. Japan is there to contest.
Oh no,
Cassidy is down. KSG, what a monster!
Like someone put him back into Zoo. What's happening here? Winston usually doesn't do that much damage. Of course, that was with the help of his teammate, but still, he's unleashed.
Yeah, so Philippines has to full reset. I don't know even what to say here for the Philippines here, because yes, they're running a good comp, but now they're trying to transition into the Genji, maybe in hopes to go for that backline. But again, we've seen this in Ilios well before. They need to coordinate their jumps really well. Philippines is suddenly being sent back to their spawns while the two players that were diving got eliminated.
Yeah, because of these dives, the backline of Philippines, they just cannot support. They just cannot do the job they're supposed to do as a support. So the back DPS line, they cannot be healed. And also the Winston, Pugman is having a tough time.
The pulse bomb stuck, and that's 2 for Nico. This is why we say this is the savior, the hero for Vel and Japan. What a play from Nico.
Well, we were saying maybe with the Tracer slightly being different now with the extra spread. We're saying maybe Nico is not going to be playing much Tracer, but never mind. All the Tracer that you want.
Even when the Cassidy is there, Nico is making full value out of that Tracer, and also Cookie on that Echo is insane.
Oh, still Genji's was here. Well, not anymore. And Philippines actually rotated. Okay, I think this was a better rotation. Still going around to delete some angles from Echo, but Echo is actually nearby instead, not flying towards a bridge.
Okay, now calm down. I need to calm down a little bit.
Me too.
But Philippines now have their ults online. They will be having that Nano Blade soon. Philippines have a choice whether they want to nano the Winston or the Genji for the Blade. I do think that the Blade will be the logical choice here. However, whatever they do, they need to make it so that they can actually make a pick. But no, Japan's making the picks, and Philippines is delayed yet again.
I thought this was going to be the timing where Philippines, because it just seems like they're just gathering ults. If we have 5 ults, I think that's going to be our best chance to actually push this team of Japanese players, because they're killing us left and right. That's sometimes what you have to do to get yourself started on this escort.
This is going to be really, really tricky for the Philippines now because they were delayed last turn. Now Japan has ultimates of their own, and Japan is starting that aggression first.
Again.
And Nico with the first kills and the second.
Now 30 seconds.
Philippines have to fall back again. They have to keep their ultimates because they have to live to fight another day.
Oh man, unknown. I know what's gonna happen. Okay, let's pause for a second. Okay, we get to talk about this a little more time. Okay, Philippines, they took that long to actually get 4 ults. Okay, the one player that we were missing didn't have ults perfectly, but because Japan was dominating so much, they were able to get more ults in less time. So they also have 4 ults ready to load.
Yeah, so I think that was the Philippines' best window to actually make things happen. And even with that, it was a little bit difficult because they had so little progress on the payload that they had to win at least one more fight in order to cap point A. And they needed that window. So I think maybe if that Genji blade was not a maybe even the nano to the Winston might have been a good chance. But now, because all credit to Japan, they made the aggression first. They knew that, hey, this is actually Philippines' opportunity, so we're gonna go in a little bit earlier and deny that chance overall. Now with just that nano, they not only denied the push from the Philippines, now they have, like you said, Chika, they have ults of their own now, so they can match the ults from Philippines.
It depends. And Philippines, they do have to initiate. They do have to go aggressive first, and very likely because they have less than, I think, 30 seconds now. And it's coming soon. And Japan, they know it's coming. It has to come. They haven't been using ultimates that many times, so it has to be ready. It has to come. So they will be ready. And usually when you talk about the ult advantage, when you are ready, when you can counter better, it works slightly better, especially the ults like EMP. Oh, it's not here right now. But if you can run out the ultimates of a counter and then have your own right after, that usually works a lot better. So I think Team Japan is actually going to be waiting for that perfect time and counter again, because Team Philippines, I think, and in other ways, they have to go one by one, really pinpoint on a single player first, and then think about the rest. Okay, let's grab.
They have 10 seconds left.
Let's grab Winston or the Tracer or Echo first, and then move on.
They have the Nano Blade. There is that Nano Blade we were talking about. Whoa, and that's right!
We got 2 kills, though.
Okay, still the backline of
But
Japan
what about the other
is
side?
down. Nico does take Genji down, but this is the best opportunity Philippines ever had.
Still here.
Still, no, they're
and
two.
More kills happening for Team Japan. Philippines are falling apart left and right. Of course, they're nearby. The escort, finally, there's Redux. But he's taken down, and that's going to be time.
Oh, dear. That is GG for Japan. I mean, all credit to Japan, because yes, we did talk about the struggles of the Philippines, but Japan is looking on fire right now.
They're not on fire. They're actually standing on lava. They're standing on lava with their feet. And they can make those plays because they're just that good. But this is a huge power level gap between the two teams, and Japan, it was a showdown. It was a showcase for them.
Yeah, like for Philippines, they did a really good job. I think this was the best moment for them in the entire series so far. And they did manage to take out the backline of Japan, which is credit to the Nano Blade of the Genji. But the rest of the members, I think it was a 4v3 and Japan's a 3v4 on the side of Japan, and they still managed to come up on top. And wow, what a team Japan is being right now. We've been casting APAC contenders, and we've been impressed by Viral so far. They are looking even better than what they were in contenders right now.
They actually do look better in the live patch, which we thought they were really good because they were adjusting perfectly to the previous patch, which was not the one before. It was actually 2 patches ago. Now we're on that. Now that everyone's on the live patch, which I'm so happy about still. And Japan, they looked very dominant. That couldn't have been better. I mean, they could have had all perfect, flawless 100 to 0, but that was almost 100 to 0. In the first map, also Gibraltar, that was just a perfect push. So I can't really. There's nothing to be said about Team Japan. But for Philippines, because this is not the only match they have to go through, they will be fighting all the other teams. This is a big round robin here. So I think there's a lot to take from this match, right?
Yeah, so a little bit to take for both teams. I think Philippines, they did kind of have their bright spots on towards the end of the match. So they just want a mental reset. They say, okay, Japan's a good team. We respect them. GG's. And we had some good moments on them, like the Nanoblade. So do that. And for Japan, I think a lot of teams will be scared of Japan now.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing because that's going to be very hard because this is only the first match out of the 3 that we have today. That was the first match, first win of the day going to Team Japan. But next up, we have 2 more matches. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone, to APAC Group A of Overwatch World Cup Qualifiers. It's G-Clef here and Unknown. And what did we just watch in our first match? Team Japan just destroying Team Philippines. That was it, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was I haven't been able to check how much, like how big the time bank was compared to other historic records on Gibraltar. However, it was a huge time bank. I don't think the Japanese attack, the cart ever stopped for Gibraltar, and also on Ilios as well. Yes, Philippines did get a little bit of foothold on the point, but on Lighthouse, I believe. However, it was sheer domination from Japan, and credits to them. They look like they understand what they need to do in order to win. They know their strengths and weaknesses of the team, and they know how to use full effect of their strengths right now.
Yeah, sometimes it's through the open trials. All of these teams, they did go through the open trials of their own region, so they did have a lot of competitive experience. But it wasn't on some of them was like, and it's been a while. It's been a while, so some of them could have been nervous on the first day of the World Cup. So, well, that's a lesson learned for Philippines. They might have to do a lot of feedback within the teammates, and hopefully can work better in their next matches to come. Because we're moving into our next match, the second match of the day. Is going to be Hong Kong versus Indonesia, which actually we have a lot of players from the Summer Series APAC that we just had.
Especially from the Hong Kong side, G-Clef, because we have Xiaolan and Mangujai from NGUK, R3K from Kraken Esports, and Aaron Crazy from OUA. So we do have a lot. You see a lot of familiar names on the side of Hong Kong here. We see Mangujai, a tournament. Well, he has been with the history of the Overwatch World Cup. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is his third World Cup, if not fourth, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Mangujai, super veteran since 2017. And he was actually in different teams, but in 2018 and 2019. So I think you're right on the third, or is it fourth? That's
2023 is going to be the fourth.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, they did have some roster change compared to what they had in their open trials, but still they were undefeated in their own region. Undefeated, not even a single map loss. That's how good they were.
That's really, really important. That's a good point, G-Clef, because yes, you can win a match dominantly, but not even dropping a map means that you are just mechanically and tactically better than the other teams in that region.
Yeah, which actually means that they were just purely dominant, and I think this can continue. Not likely going to see that Widow. Very, very unlikely, but we might. Who knows?
And one of the points for interest is that R3K is going to be the only tank for Hong Kong. And R3K, during his time in Kraken Esports, was that flex support off-tank. Oh no, I'm sorry, off-tank specialist. So it's really interesting to see how Hong Kong's composition is going to look like. I do believe that R3K knows how to play some of the main tank hero pools. However, he will be more comfortable on the off-tank hero pools. So we'll see what kind of composition Hong Kong is cooking right now.
Yep, and their opponent is going to be Team Indonesia here. Proxy, Speed, Zekrom, Chun-Li, and Shrimp will be the starting roster. And especially Chun-Li has been winning a few community regional tournaments, but that's about it. And I was trying to dig a lot more from the team, but I just couldn't search it as much.
Yeah, a lot of the people are just high elo players from the server. However, that still means that their mechanical prowess is very, very good. And like you mentioned, G-Clef Chun-Li has history of Overwatch contenders into the sea, open tournament. So we'll see how it finds out, because this tournament might be that little push that they need to level up and be able to compete with the bigger players.
Yeah, of course. And also Indonesia, they had a lot of teams in their open trials. And of course they were undefeated, but of course they dropped a few maps, of course, including Bai in the first round, but it was the first round, so let's still keep that in count. So B Messi was the team name from the open trials, and they were pretty dominant. I saw all the scores and did not get to see all the matches, but still, from the region, seems to be one of the best squad that you can come out with. So let's see how they can actually perform and actually compete against Team Hong Kong here.
Here, I think Hong Kong will be the favorites here. However, we've seen time and time over in the few days of the Overwatch World Cup qualifiers that upsets happen. Upsets happen, and that is what makes this esports so great. So we'll definitely see whether if Indonesia can pull out that upset, or Hong Kong, with their experienced players on the pro scene, can be able to close this one out.
Yeah, it is also the first day, so we mentioned it briefly for the first match, and a lot of these players, they do have experience, especially competitive, but some of them actually not as much. I'm talking a very few amount of players, because oftentimes they do play a lot of competitive, but on the broadcast, on the World Cup qualifier level, sometimes not. So they might be feeling a little bit different on this online stage. So we'll get to see, and also I do want to see how the roster from Team Hong Kong is actually going to turn out, because it's a combination of a few different teams together, right? They were opponents just a few weeks ago.
Exactly. Kraken, NGUK, OUA, they all went against each other. I do think that they know each other really well, because they've been playing against each other so much, and also on comp, they've been meeting and playing against each other for a lot. So as a team, like for as much as team coherence, I think there won't be much of a problem. But if there are conflicting styles, that might be an issue for Hong Kong. But my main issue here is whether R3K will be able to pull out some of the main tank hero pools that is needed for playing some of the maps here, especially like Gibraltar here. Like, yes, D.Va is a good pick, but mostly the Winston's going to be the go-to for that map. It's also it's going to affect what maps Indonesia or Hong Kong is going to select if they do lose that map one. So a lot of interesting things here. Also, a player of interest for me is going to be Xiaolan, because Xiaolan's Genji has been phenomenal in the contenders.
Yes, and only yes when there were Annas on his side. But without the Anna, I would say his DPS role was actually a roller coaster. There are some dips that he can actually go down to and die 3 times in a row without having a blade. But once he gets that nano blade on a certain map, like he could pop off literally and have an entire team wipe by himself.
Yeah, I still remember. I forgot which team it was against, but it was on King's Row. It was second point, and his Nano Blade was that savior hero play for his team. And again, Xiaolan has proved that he can play a lot of good Genjis. Although, like you said, he does need support of his team. But Mangojai will be there with that experience, and his mechanicals aren't dying out. So I think this is going to be an interesting decision, whether they do opt to play the Genji, because we haven't been. I'll be very blunt. I haven't been impressed with the Genji in APAC yet, especially in the World Cup qualifiers.
Not today for sure.
So we'll definitely see whether Xiaolan will be able to impress me with his Genji. He also does play a little bit of Chaser, and the majority of flex DPS hero pools. So I think Hong Kong will be in a good spot. Again, my main points are: will R3K be able to, or are they willing to, and will they be able to pull out those main tank hero pools? And will Xiaolan be able to pop off?
Yeah, he has to. He is the only tank on the team. So on the other side, also Zekrom for Indonesia. Will he actually? Because right now we do see tank as like a supporting role with the DPS, but depending on how well the tank does, I think right now I think the tank is basically the bridge between the DPS and the supports, because it's the only one instead of the two now. As Zekrom should be the bridge in between the teams, and depending on how balanced he can be. Because right now we have seen from Japan versus Philippines, there was a lot of disconnections in this jointed moment from the Philippines. The reason why they were losing a lot of their either the DPS or the back line, it was because of those dive comp. And sometimes if you just cannot handle that, you just lose the entire match just like that, one-sided. So that has to be worked on. Of course, I'm sure they have watched the first match.
Yes, like you said, G-Clef, also I've mentioned this on the team, on Team Philippines as well, that all teams must have a common intent. So if they're going to jump, if they're going to run a rush, if they're going to go with a dive comp, that's totally fine. As long as you know the entire team knows that you are going to jump either on the backline or are you going to disturb the healing or the support, cut off the healing from the backline to the tank, from the front line, and take out the front line first. It has to be a coordinated event, and that's also the same for Rush. Like, if one person decides to go in and the rest of the team's like, maybe like after I get my ult, that's going to be a disaster either way. And I think both teams, this is going to be, the coordination between the two teams are going to be crucial in who's going to win this match.
Let's see as we start our first map in Ilios.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Indonesia, let's see who will come out on top. 13 seconds before we open that door. And maybe the first Junker Queen of the day.
So this used to be a Widow map. I do think the Widow nerfs is going to affect greatly to this decision here. Indonesia is going with the double flankers on the Winston. This is the classic dive composition, so you need, absolutely, Indonesia needs to be on the same page on who are you going to dive. And Hong Kong is a little bit more of the jokes meta, but they do have like the classic jump. So it's going to be interesting. The Hong Kong composition is a little bit better into the Winston comp. So, and Zekrom going very low here, and that is the first kill for Hong Kong.
Easy slash through that Winston. Charlian talked about his Genji. See how well he can actually play on this first. Okay, Hong Kong slightly pushing them all the way out. Indonesia falling all the way back. They have to regroup now.
And that'll be the first cap for Hong Kong. So Hong Kong using their compositional advantage to full effect here. And I think Indonesia needs to get that EMP really, really quickly, and then try to pull the trigger before Hong Kong does, because Hong Kong, they will be happily going with a Rampage or a Dragon Blade here. So it will be the neutral fight's basically on the side, on the advantage for Hong Kong. So Indonesia needs to farm up their ults really, really quickly and get that ult online. And oh, that was a good translocator kill, translocator kill for Genji. This fights their trade kills on and off, but Hong Kong is having the number advantage here, but not for long here, because Indonesia is back. Credit to the double flankers here for a good target acquisition.
Yeah, Speed Proxy is still alive. They were putting out the most amount of damage. Hong Kong, they thought they were safe after taking out the back line of Indonesia, but certainly flipping sides now. That double flanker doing some work. If it didn't work twice in a row, that could have been very dangerous, as Hong Kong still, they already have 40%.
Okay, Indonesia does have advantage here because they do have EMP and they don't have the sound barrier. Four-man EMP, Genji down with that blade down, both DPS is down on the side of Hong Kong. Hong Kong needs to back out.
And Indonesia, they're just pushing all the way, and we'll take care of the rest here. As I think Hong Kong, they were pretty ready, but they ended up just saving the ultimates instead, okay? Indonesia, they're going to use the EMP very likely with something else. And Indonesia, though, they didn't use the sound barrier. They still have the pulse bomb, so I think they're still not too bad in terms of ult usage.
Now the turn is on to Hong Kong, like you said, G Club, because they do have the Rampage, they do have the Dragon Blade, and they also have the sound barrier. And Indonesia has the sound barrier. Yes, Chanli has the sound barrier, but it can only cover for one ult here, and Chanli might be even down before that sound barrier. Okay, so the sound barrier is down, but the Rampage is still there. Hong Kong.
Ruby's gone. Yeah, the blade popped a little late, but let's see if it leads into both supports down. Okay, that's Charlian, but can he keep it up more? The blade is gone. Still a few members of Indonesia still alive. The DPS. Oh, Winston's taken care of. Where are the DPSs? You got to find that Tracer and Sombra.
The point is still contested, which means more percentage to Indonesia. This is good for Indonesia because even if they lose this fight, they get a lot of percentage. And Hong Kong needs another fight win to defend that.
And finally a flip to Hong Kong. That fight was a very long one, as they couldn't just find the DPS first.
Okay, now this is going to be a very interesting fight because Indonesia does have the EMP. Hong Kong does not have any defensive measures. However, they do have the overclock and the Rampage. So if Hong Kong wants to pull the trigger earlier, but no, Indonesia does pull the trigger earlier, and now Hong Kong has to back up again.
A lovely dive.
They want to fight this though.
Oh, Charlian, and also Soldier actually survives. Yeah, by having that overclock, just popping everything before he actually goes down. The Rampage is still available, but Junker King can really find the right target, right time. Still speed. This Tracer has been harassing Team Hong Kong so much.
However, it does not lead into any flips, so Hong Kong will be able to match the percentage of Indonesia. And now, because that was a really good play that was a really good overclock play from Kurumi here, because it looked like Indonesia was having the upper hand because the EMP was there quickly. However, that overclock was able to take out multiple members of Indonesia, which is leading up to this overtime here. If Hong Kong wins one single fight here, that will be ruins going over to the side of Hong Kong.
Indonesia, they lost 2 already, and the ult charges are not even close. Hong Kong, it seems like they're about to grab the very first. And where's Proxies? He's got to find the extra.
Okay, I don't think there's going to be anyone to touch. And Ruins goes to the side of Hong Kong. But G-Clev, this is a more competitive series than Match 1 was.
Certainly, and Hong Kong, it seems like after taking some punches on their own from Indonesia, said, okay, we can't really take this lightly. We actually have to gather up and group up first, because it seems like Indonesia's DPS are actually very strong flanking from side. Hong Kong actually tilted their head for a second and said, okay, we need to regroup and think about this, because Indonesia actually really strong here.
I think this is getting really interesting because Hong Kong, like you said, it's not going to be a walk in the park. So they do need to work on their ult discipline and use their positioning really well. And okay, Hong Kong, R3K is still going with the Junker Queen Quant, which is, I think, was expected. Oh, that TP was a little bit, that was an oopsies. But how?
Okay, doesn't matter. Well, just going to be a slightly late to the point.
Okay, still Hong Kong with that shout from the Junker Queen, still got there a little bit faster. So they will still be able to keep that positional advantage and will be on to the point first. Indonesia is going with the classic Lighthouse comp with the Ashe and the Echo. So Indonesia wants to get to that high ground and have that Echo fire very freely.
And that's why Hong Kong's actually staying in that control zone, not showing themselves too much. Indonesia right next to the wall, and Bronx actually gets a kill on the Reaper first, so that's a lot of damage. DPS removed on Hong Kong's side. Can they actually keep it up? Can get very low. Indonesia putting out all sorts of DPS nearby.
Look at the buff to Echo's ult charge here, already at 48%. Yes, Shaolan's Mei is also getting to that point, but okay, so no copy for this fight, and I think Indonesia has to back out and reset.
Yep, Echo will be getting that ult charge real soon for the next fight when they come back. First, of course, Hong Kong already having 33% because they got the early point lead, controlling this point.
This is going to be a really important fight for Indonesia here because Hong Kong does have the Blizzard to deter any entrance to the point. However, Indonesia do. Oh no, Shaolan sniping speed 75 away, but there's going to be that res here blocked. The Maywall blocked Bob, but Bob is still on the point. However, both are frozen. Bob is taken out of the picture. So a lot of ults used. And it looks like Hong Kong is taking the lead for now. Yes, R3K falls. So both teams do not have a tank. But currently, the point is on the side of Hong Kong. So if this fight gets extended, Hong Kong is the one who is going to likely be smiling here.
Yeah, as Hong Kong, they still had all the supports backing off, so the control was still being held by Hong Kong. Indonesia, they need to come back. Of course, Shrip has been always out here providing heals, but the inside fight mattered so much. And without Echo, it's going to be very tough. Both.
That is a good push to R3K. So Hong Kong does not have the Rampage available for that fight. However,
99%.
The ball is there to touch, but for how long is the question? Indonesia has to group up real quick if they don't want to get 100-0'd.
Yeah, they do have the Death Blossom ready to go. Kurumi in the hill. Reform and then with the Rampage.
Okay, double kill from Kurumi here. It looks like this is gonna be it, and the map is going to the side of Hong Kong. Yes, Indonesia did put up a good fight, but in the end, it is going to be the match favorites that is going to take map 1, and Hong Kong leads the series 1-0.
Oh man, another loss for Echo actually on this map, which is actually going to be a big pattern that we are going to be keeping up. And again, Hong Kong just keeping everything under control and not really leaving their ground. Actually, Xiaolin's Mei, I was actually pretty impressed. Always using that wall to block D-Buck from coming in, defend that much, to block that much damage out of the team. So that was really well handled by Team Hong Kong overall, getting the first map.
Good read on, well, I think it was a good read on the side of Hong Kong. So I think they had an idea of what Indonesia was going to play, although they do have a little bit of a limitation on what tank heroes they can play. The Junker Queen comp was very, very effective in what Indonesia had to bring, and also, like you mentioned, G-Clef, Xiaolan was both not only stellar on the Genji like we've been seeing so far on Overwatch Contenders, his Mei was also really, really effective. Like, we also saw a single snipe shot onto the Ashe there, which was really important because a lot of the compositional advantages that comes from the Indonesian side, especially on Lighthouse, was the Ashe and the Echo. So
yeah, which was crucial, I think, because of that Mei. Indonesia, they just could not really provide enough damage. Plus, the space to actually go into the point, because a lot of their members, the DPS plus Anna and both of the support line, they're actually up on the second floor, not really coming in with that diva. As long as Hong Kong they took out that diva, they had no chance of actually diving into that point.
It was also, there was a lot of fights when both teams were missing their tanks, and it was a 4v4, and Hong Kong with that experienced DPS line. And I also want to give credit to Hong Kong's backline as well. I haven't seen the backline on the side of Hong Kong fall down a lot of times. Of course, it wasn't on screen a lot of times, but that means not being on the other side of the kill feed means that they are protecting each other, always being able to support their DPSs and tanks. So I think credit to that. And Indonesia here kind of needs to work. They did fight well. I do want to give them credit, and I think they've really played well. It's just that the score doesn't honor those efforts. However, they do need to find a way to access the backline of Hong Kong if they want a chance to win.
Yeah, also because of that issue, Hong Kong, it was actually easier for them to focus on one thing. Like when there was Bob, they literally just threw down the Blizzard. Okay, no one come into the point. Let's take care of Bob first, and then we worry about the D.Va and then the rest of the team. And that was really being well handled by Hong Kong. It was actually easier because of less targets to be you face with on the control point. You can just pinpoint. The shot caller just calls for one, and then everyone just attacks at once. You had the entire team around that zone. So, which I think Indonesia should have changed in the middle, unless it was going to be incredibly hard to actually dive in, even with the D.Va and the two DPSs.
Okay, looking forward, now Indonesia is going to be left with a choice. They do have selection over map type and map selection. I do suspect that Gibraltar is also a viable choice because I know that R3K, although R3K is a very good Winston as well, they have not been showing an R3K Winston in the first map. So maybe Gibraltar, because they know that they can play Winston a little bit more comfortably. However, I do think that the Junker Queen is a good countermeasure to Winston. So maybe they're kind of wearing their options here.
How about a hybrid? I mean, for the similar team comp, I think Blizzard World or a few other hybrid can actually be okay for Team Indonesia also.
Very viable. So, but for Blizzard World, I think R3K can cover a lot with the D.Va. So for me, Indonesia will be wanting to choose a map type and a map that they can kind of try to limit R3K's influence, because R3K has been stellar this map.
Yeah, for sure. It's getting a lot more supported from the supports that literally they were stuck right next to you. And of course, Echo Mercy on the other side, it's really hard to... because they're actually playing a different game compared to the other three on the ground. Like Far Mercy, Echo Mercy, they do have their own way of maneuvering, and oftentimes they can't. Even though there's a shot calling from the captain or the shot caller, you can't really be there at the same time because you're like in the air off of the point. Sometimes you're at the right place, sometimes you're not. So it's very conditional when you have that kind of team comp. So you do need to really match and know exactly where teammates are to make that focus fire work. But on the other side, Hong Kong, when you can actually defend attack into that small choke point, I think it was also a lot easier. Which I think they're going to continue. I think Genji might not even be needed. From Hong Kong's side, again, just continue to play with Mei, which actually had a pretty significant balance change, but I don't think it matters too much right now.
Yeah, so a little bit more commenting about the Echo comp here, Echo Ash, which was on Lighthouse. I think the entire point about Indonesia's composition was that if they take the point first, if they cap the point first, they can deny a lot of entry to the point, because Echo will be on the air, shooting a lot of things with that Mercy, and Ash would be on the high ground. And two things went wrong there. Number one, they didn't cap the point first, even though Hong Kong kind of messed up that TP. And number two, Ash got a little bit outsniped by low ground Mei, so a little bit of a confidence boost there for the Mei. So maybe they need to work out something else compositional-wise. So yes, Echo is buffed, but it's not going to be the answer for everything.
Yeah, certainly not, as it's conditional. Also, you need to work with the other team comp, which works with Echo, which actually is one of the DPS that changes the entire team, if you know what I'm saying. So I think that's something else that you have to think about if you're bringing Echo. Depending on the map, of course, if it's practiced, I think it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it doesn't really matter what the opponent is actually bringing on the table. Sometimes you just bring what you practiced at some of these teams level. But we'll see. We'll see actually what happens in our second map. I believe the second map has been picked by Indonesia.
Clef, you are correct.
I'm godlike. I'm floating right now. So I do have to make perfect prediction.
Okay.
So
because chat's looking at you.
So it's gonna be Blizzard World, guys, and I predicted.
It is indeed going to be Blizzard World, and this is to me a very interesting choice, because I'm hearing that there are no subs on either side. So this means I do think that maybe we can expect something like a Diva or a Ramatra on the side of Hong Kong. Indonesia, probably a Winston, maybe if they can play out a Ramatra rush, maybe that as well. I do think that they still will opt to go with the Winston comp. I may be wrong, but I'm not the coach, so maybe they may not hear me say this, and they're like, "Okay, I'm just gonna scrap the Winston comp." But yes,
no way, it's not gonna happen. Of course, there's a slight delay in the broadcast. Of course, that's also another reason why. But on this, Winston seems to be good, so just quite work with it, and also bring a Reaper just in case. Could actually
that might be a little bit of a gamble here, because I'm hearing that Hong Kong is going to be defense first.
Oh, defense first. Okay.
So that means that the spawn is going to be a little bit far away, and if you get to lose that composition gamble, you might be in a really weird spot.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you have to think here. As you said, oh wait, Hong Kong's on defense first, right?
Yes.
So Indonesia, they have to break the gates first. First, they do have to get some cracks open, and then considering opening the door or breaking the door and just going in, because it seems like Hong Kong right now, as even if they, there were some moments where they actually lost their tank, but still with the support and the DPS, they still won the fight with 4v5. And if that keeps on happening, I mean, Indonesia, you're not going to get too far away on this map. So first, we talked about the competition a lot, and also the focus fire. I think it has to come together.
Yeah, especially if they're going with the Winston dive comp, like I kind of think they will go. They need to prioritize the target, especially on the backline, and run towards them and jump towards them.
Yeah, they have to be quick. They have to have their maximum amount of attempts to break into that first point, as that's going to be the main point for Indonesia. As we still have some time to... I don't think that's going to be real, though. Maybe for Cassidy, maybe.
So Hong Kong's on defense, so they should be what they're hovering should be their final kick.
Kurumi's already here.
Okay, yes. So Cassidy, I think, is... I think the reasoning for Cassidy here is on two things. If Indonesia goes double flankers, maybe this is going to be kind of like their test for, hey, can Cassidy actually suppress the double flankers? And also, this is a map that Indonesia can play flyers. So I think maybe that's a little bit of a guarantee, not guarantee, but insurance policy for the Flyers.
And I like this from Indonesia, double flank. I think this worked so much better, just like the very first map that we had in Ilios. As Proxy's speed.
Now it's going to be the actual test, because can Cassidy suppress the might of double flankers here?
Yeah, that's going to be the real test for Kurumi. Shanglian actually back on Tracer. Attacking few heal packs all the way back. So Hong Kong does not get to heal once they go. Double flankers coming around. Trying to get some damage on the Bango Jai. And here's the Winston.
Here's the contest for high ground, and there it is! The jump on the Hong Kong backline. That is exactly what Indonesia needed. Yes, they lose speed 75, but still, this is looking good on the side of Indonesia, because it means, yes, okay, R3K is down, so this is also a longer spawn distance for the side of Hong Kong. Maybe they get a tick or two here.
Yeah, by far. And notice that speed immediately went down against Cassie. That means that the Tracer could not recall, basically. We did not get to see the exact screen of what happened. I'm pretty sure that was Hong Kong losing a few more members. They're forced back away from the point. That's a second tick. They might just give this one up. Or, okay, they're coming in with Winston first.
Xiaolian down again. So this means that Hong Kong has to fight with the member down. R3K very low. Okay, that is first point for Indonesia. I'm impressed.
See how much better this is actually working for Indonesia. The two Proxy's speed, the two DPS duo is breaking a lot here. I thought they were going to first make some cracks and then have the door open, but they punched that door open immediately from that first push.
And not only that, Proxy's already has the EMP, and I don't think Hong Kong has any defensive measures. Maybe the rally comes online, but if Indonesia choose to do an early aggression here, I don't think Hong Kong has any means of countering it.
Here's the EMP, and immediately Cassidy down with that Ana. That backline will be having a lot of trouble if this keeps on happening, because Cassidy is not a DPS that can be away from the supports.
Okay, now Kurumi walks away from the Cassidy, so the answer is no. Cassidy is not able to contain the double flankers. Not yet at least. And there is, R3K. Mango Jai has to use the nano just to keep R3K alive. Maybe they can then connect this into a push. However, I don't think they're in a good position to do it. Indonesia can just disengage and go their turn now.
Yeah. R3K having a tough time surviving as the Winston here against all the squad of Indonesia. The DPS line seems to be doing slightly better. No stick, no kill from the false bomb. Instead, speed.
Okay, Chanli with that sound barrier for extra sustain. They will be wiping Hong Kong out of the map. R3K does have that primal rage if he wants to survive another day, but he decides to keep it. But will they be able to contest? I do think they might be able to contest at the very end of point B. But this looks promising for Indonesia.
Here comes a real fight with Genji now and the Jungle Queen. Kurumi on Reaper. This seems to be what worked for Hong Kong, but will it work?
Okay, Chanli down for Indonesia. Indonesia might want to back out and do it again. However, okay, not if they have these many kills here.
Jakram actually popping that rage. They want to get this second point immediately. 4 minutes. 4 minutes for Indonesia to push all the way. Hong Kong certainly having a lot of trouble dealing with this comp.
And that stagger kill onto Mango Jai will mean that they will have a little bit of more extra mileage there. And Proxy's already with the EMP again. And once again, Hong Kong does not have any defensive measures online.
I'm actually quite impressed. I was saying I like the team combo what Indonesia is actually bringing on this map, but Hong Kong, they're having a very tough time, especially losing Reaper a lot in the beginning of those fights. Well, now here's a response, but I think this is really the time for Indonesia to just regroup a little bit.
Okay, Hong Kong is stabilizing things a little bit. Indonesia making a good choice, in my opinion, for moving away from the Winston to match the Jungle Queen, because Hong Kong invested a lot of compositional changes for that Winston, and
Five-man
that is a
EMP.
5-man EMP. No kills though. No kills, and rather, Poxy's fall here. Yes, they do make a kill on Am Crazy. However, this looks like the
That's a
fight
stick.
going. Oh no,
Oh,
it's
Speed Tracer is out of this world. Okay, some response from R3K, but only the supports are alive. And Xiaolian goes down without having that blade. We've talked about this. Xiaolian's Genji can be incredible, but without the Ana, without the Nano, sometimes he can be upside down.
Okay, what I'm so impressed about Indonesia right now is that not only can they do dive comps and the Jungle Queen comp, they actually fixed a lot of the issues that they were facing
Here's the blade.
in map 1. Oh, the Genji!
Kiriko
Showdown not
headshot.
making any value from that Dragon Blade.
Better ninjas turns out to be Kiriko this time, and Indonesia keeps on punching. Here's the sound barrier though, and the rush from Hong Kong. They're going to survive with those ults.
However, Hong Kong used a lot of resources that
They did.
fight. And although Indonesia does not have any ults online, they will be having those earlier than Hong Kong because they used 3 ults just to stabilize the car right now.
Yep, and then Indonesia actually swapping a little bit. Here's Reaper, and now Mei coming from Proxy's speed, the 2 DPS, as they've been working really well so far. Here's the long to isolate.
R3K does have that rampage. This is a good opportunity, but they know that Chanli has that. They don't even need the rampage. Hong Kong is back on their tracks right now.
So when Indonesia when they can actually use that Tracer Sombra comp, they have been doing it so well. But except for that, Hong Kong can. It seems like they can actually handle most of the other team comps that Indonesia is going to bring. Of course, that was without any ults being used on Indonesia's side.
Okay, the time bank is now at 1 minute. So Indonesia does have to make this one count. They do have a lot of ultimates already, but Chanli falls without using the sound barrier. At least he gets the hold. It wasn't an Ajax, but Shrimp does want to win this fight. And pops the Kitsune Rush. There are a lot of ults upcoming. Speed 75 with that Blizzard online. R3K is waiting for the perfect chance to use that Rampage. Here it is on 3 members. There, Chanli is there for the rescue. It is now
and a counter
Zekrov's turn. It looks like Xiaolan is going to fall. Trade kills on either side, so it's going to be Hong Kong winning on the upper side of things again after a lot of ults.
Yeah, we'll see, because R3K is still here. Oh, there's speed, but you can't really push when there's contest. As the rest of the team, Indonesia, they will be coming back from spawn.
That was a good save on the save of Indonesia because it's only 10 seconds left now, and if that was going to be speed falling, it would have been a disaster. Okay, R3K down. That's a change.
That's a chance for Indonesia to push all the way in.
I think
ults.
Am Crazy might have to use the sound barrier early.
Do they have to? They do have the. They do
At
have
least
Kitsune Rush.
the Kitsune Rush.
There it is first, and the barrier early on.
Okay, good aggression from Hong Kong. They used the ults early, and it looks like they're wiping out Indonesia out, and it looks like overtime is going to burn out. But good push from Indonesia.
Yeah, all the way till 4 meters out of the final point. Indonesia, I think they have literally achieved what they wanted so far. Not a 3-pointer, but still a 2-point, and that far into the map, I think it's totally fine against Hong Kong right now.
Yeah, I think Indonesia is going to be really happy with that push, and they still have, although yes, Hong Kong, if they full cap, they are going to win this map. However, I've seen Indonesia being a lot of improvements on the side of Indonesia on their target acquisition and their way of playing. So now they know how to access the backline of Hong Kong. They just have to execute it perfectly.
Yeah, my God. Indonesia, Proxy Speed, these 2 DPSs, they focused so well along with Zekrom. And Hong Kong, there are a lot of moments where that could not be handled. And that's going to be a problem when you run into other teams like Team Japan, Team Korea, South Korea later on. Not today, but later on into the qualifiers. So let's see how Hong Kong actually wants to push this on their own attack now. Xiaolian's Genji was kind of lukewarm compared to our first map here.
Yeah, Shaolan had definitely had some better moments here. Maybe here is that moment where we mentioned, hey, Mango Jack, can you play the Ana for me instead of the Kiriko? But right now, it looks like it is going to be the Kiriko and Lucio. For Shaolan, just no nano.
You don't even need nano, you're so good. That's a way of complementing your team and also doing what you want.
Okay, good scouting here on the side of Proxies. They know what Hong Kong is going to run, and good Suzu from Magujai. They're on the point. Oh, good
What
early
just
kills.
happened here on the point? As they did have Sombra on the other side, okay, but the supports, they were just...
Okay.
They were literally brought down. Maybe the Jungle King got a stab, got the dagger in.
I literally blinked, and Hong Kong took point A. They're angry right now. They're angry because
He's trying to prove that he doesn't need Ana.
Okay.
Okay, that's a proof. Shaolin got 2 kills. And that's the important part.
I think it's still okay on the side of Indonesia, but Hong Kong is definitely going to feel good about this one. No compositional changes so far, and it's still the neutral game because the point was taken so early that either team don't have ults yet.
Yeah, the highest number that we actually have is 47, 48 now. Well, Indonesia, back on Sombra Tracer. Will this work better?
Do you think that Zekrom might need to move away from the Winston here because it is the Junker Queen and the Reaper, so the double shotgun is going to do a lot of damage to Zekrom like here right now. And if you don't have a tank, it's going to be a little difficult to hold the payload, and especially with a 5-minute time bank, you need those kind of ults.
Yeah, it worked when Indonesia was pushing, but it's a different story when you actually have to hold and get a real team fight around the payload. You're straight with a headshot. Oh, turns out to be the better ninja once again.
Okay, and so this is a little bit of stabilizing on the side of Indonesia, unless Hong Kong wants to pull the trigger, but they don't have any ults, so it looks like they are going to wait out until they regroup and get those ults online.
Yeah, Mango-jai, the other Kiriko, ready with that rush. Shrimp will only be 4% away.
Okay, early aggression from Mango-jai here. Will they be able to profit? Crazy is going to fall down, and that is a 4-man EMP. 4-man because the 5th man is already down.
Oh, but Speed is still alive with very low HP, and finally with a melee, Shaolin's going to get it. But that EMP was actually effective. Speed was able to take care of a few more.
Yeah, but in the end, Hong Kong did achieve their objectives. So Indonesia is not going to feel so happy about that. However, so now the point is going to be about the Genji. The Genji has the Dragon Blade R3K with the Rampage. We've seen Chun-Li fall down even if they had the speed barrier. Not this time, so able to effectively shield his teammates, but not save Zekrom from certain death. And
man,
here,
someone's angry.
okay, so this is a speed roll for Hong Kong. Indonesia not being able to pull out the same heroics that they were able to do on their attack. Hong Kong's backline is still alive and up and running.
Yeah, with the Jungle Queen, they do feel the difference as you can't really dive in at the same time as you had your Winston. So that's why Sombra is going to go attack a little more. Here's that lost him not doing too much, as the fight was actually away from this guy.
Yes, Shrimp does fall, so it's only the Lucio sustain, which is not a lot. But Zekrom lives by a sliver and stops the payload as well, still for now. But Hong Kong still has 4 minutes to push.
We said a lot of this name called Speed, but his Tracer seems to be on somewhat of another level when you're taking down an opponent, just coming out from nowhere, making sure you're still alive. Speed doing so much work for the team. Here it is, some EMP and the Rampage together.
Rampage there, and manual hack into R3K means that it's going to be a total reset for the side of Hong Kong.
And Hong Kong was so chaotic, they had no clue that Tracer was behind them, the entire team.
Okay, I think this was a fairly economic turn for Indonesia. So the Pulse Bomb was used, the Rampage was used. Rampage is a big ult. However, they do have the EMP online and will be having that sound barrier up again very soon. So Indonesia has some ingredients to make a stall here. The EMP was good, but no follow-up kills.
follow-up, and your Shrimp with the Coalescence actually helping out the damage source while healing.
Ooh, okay.
That's one. Will you pop the blade? Not yet, as your teammates all dead to the ground.
Xiaolan just didn't want to get staggered and just was staying on the point, forcing Indonesia, hey, take me out unless you want the card. If you want the card to go back.
Yeah, there's still Sombra here. Proxies hanging around.
Indonesia kind of used a little bit more than they wanted here. A little bit. I think they might have wanted to keep that Coalescence. However, it was a fight that they needed to win, so it was a necessity here. Here is the Dragon Blade and that Coalescence here, which is going to do a lot of damage. And Indonesia, will they... Okay, 2 members of Indonesia is still remaining. Will they be able to touch and contest?
They have to come immediately, but no ults available. That's the important thing. As Hong Kong still having sound barrier, plus that Rampage. Card's almost there.
The Rampage is there. Only hits 2. However, it is enough. Only hits
the
1
double
actually.
headshot. That might actually just do it, and Hong Kong will grab the second and actually win the entire thing here, first to 2. And Hong Kong wins our match, the second match of the day.
Yeah, they did have a little bit of a scare when Indonesia was attacking on Blizzard World, and Indonesia was really, they had some really bright moments, especially on Blizzard World, but also on Ilias as well. However, Hong Kong did show that, hey, we have the professional players, we have players playing in the contender scene, we are the better team, and they proved so.
Yeah, I think the response of responding to the enemy team comp, I think Hong Kong had a slight edge doing slightly better. In terms of response on Blizzard World, and that sometimes it actually comes out from oftentimes from the shot caller and also individually, but experience does come in handy in these type of moments. And Indonesia, though, they looked scary when they're on their own attack. Just have to work on the other side. I think they had some weaknesses in terms of when they were on the other side, the defending side on Blizzard World, but when they were on offense, man, they couldn't get all 3 points, of course, but still, it seemed pretty incredible with that Sombra Tracer comp. And if it works, if it continues to work, just make it. You can actually refine it to the maximum point. But right now on this patch, it doesn't work everywhere on the map. That's the thing.
So I think yes, G-Clef, it was a 2-0. It was a 2-0, not only just on control, but also the match score was 2-0 as well, but I don't think it did justice to how well Indonesia played against Hong Kong. Hong Kong was great. Like Hong Kong was the better team today, but Indonesia could they showed us what they can be when they're at their best, and I think they can still feel very confident coming into the other matchups. Well, not just today, but for the rest of the qualifiers.
Yeah, because you do have to remember, we do have to play every single team in the group, and we have 6 teams, which makes it 5 matches per team. So that's going to be it. And I think this is actually going to be this result between Hong Kong and Indonesia might come to bite Indonesia a lot, because these 2 teams, I think they were really competitive. Might be actually one of the deciding factors. But of course, today we only got 2 matches for now, because we still have one more match left. And that is going to be South Korea versus Chinese Taipei. That's going to be the highlight match of the day, I feel. But we'll take a short break before that. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. welcome back everyone to APAC Group A. So far it has been 2-2-0s, unfortunately, but the third match that we have, they're about to put on some show because this matchup is going to be a pretty big matchup. Of course, not exactly the opponent that South Korea is actually going to be fighting. South Korea is going to be versus Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, so Indonesia, yes, they did put up a good fight against Hong Kong, so kind of like a credit to them, special props to them. But look at this South Korean roster. We have a lot of champions on this roster.
Oh,
Lip,
man.
the mid-season madness champions, Fielder Trio, also the champions of the 2023 mid-season madness, Fearless, runner-up for the mid-season madness,
Exactly.
and Sparkle, 2022 grand final champion. We have a lot of champions here.
A lot of trophies on this roster for sure, and unknown. I think a lot of the viewers are also waiting for this matchup today, as this roster seems to be the favorite, not just in this group, the entire World Cup, to be honest.
Yeah, this team is not just today's match favorites, but South Korea. I mean, even all the caster biases out, this team is one of the favorites to win the entire thing. So this team, it will be very interesting to see how they play, what they play, and how good they are.
And will they actually show 100%? And how is the team work going to be within this roster? Because of course, mechanically, they're all proven. They're all proven already for years of how good they are on stage in big stage performances. But of course, there are some opponents here within the rosters.
Well, yes, I do think, but however, in terms of team cohesion, I think it's going to be really, really okay. Not concerning at all, because Lipfield Shio just played competitive matches together at the Mid-Season Madness as the Atlanta Reign.
Literally a week ago.
Yes, and I was there to scream my voice off.
Scratch that. 5 days ago, not 7 days.
Okay, and Sparkle and Fearless also have history together at the Dallas Fuel. So I think in terms of team cohesion, I think this shouldn't be an issue for this team. However, it looks what I'm interested to see is that what kind of compositions will they be coming up with. Lip is a Sombra god, and Sparkle is good at a lot of things, like Tracer, Genji, especially the Genji, right? And Fearless, I'll be putting this. Fearless is currently the best Winston in the world.
You think so?
I do.
Okay. I do agree in a lot of ways. And on the other side, the Chinese Taipei, double tracer. Can't have double tracer in game. So we'll see. Snow, Hope, Nexus, Rimomo, and Mao Li. So this roster, they're up against a mountain. They're up against the space, the galaxy of Overwatch.
I do think that this team does have a lot of competence in them. Because also, this is for people who've been following APAC contenders. This is the old version of Kraken Esports. So before Kraken Esports revamped their roster, this was a lot of these members are the former Kraken Esports, and they have experience on the professional stage. However, the question is, will they be able to go against Overwatch League caliber opponents?
It's going to be uphill climb, and the climb that we're talking about is a lot of slope, very high number slope. But this team called Roll Momo from the Open Trials, they actually did one of the biggest bracket that we have for the Open Trials, by the way, from Chinese Taipei. And they did have a lucky bye in the upper bracket, but except for that, they haven't had pretty dominant bracket run out of a lot of other teams. So they should be feeling okay, but it's just that their opponent seems to be one of the stronger teams, not in just the group, the entire tournament of Overwatch World Cup.
Yeah, and here we are at Ilias again. It looks like it's going to be Ilias all around for today. Again, Winston is, I think, going to be a very favorite because Fearless is in. Fearless knows how to play a lot of heroes really, really well, but I mean, why not play the Winston if it's Ilios, right? And I do suspect that because Lip and Sparkle are starting, it might look like a double flanker here. And Shio Fielder, Brig, why not?
It's going to be a big test for both teams, and I'm very interested to see what South Korea is feeling right now on the live patch. What kind of team comp are they actually going to pull? First of all, are they really going to be putting out like, at least the 90% of their power level? And what the team comp they think it's the best on each map? And Chinese Taipei has to just match up to that level. We do have expectation that South Korea is going to be the big favorite on this matchup. But Chinese Taipei is their first of the day and of the tournament, so they have to show something here.
Yeah, especially because, like we said, even map differentials may be very, very crucial in qualifications for the main event. And to be honest, taking a map off South Korea might be something that no other team may be able to do in this group.
That might actually be the realistic goal here. And
Don't worry, I'll be right.
no team's perfect. No team can be perfect. Sometimes you're having a bad day. Sometimes you're having a good day. As the gates open, here we go. We do have... Okay, after the teleport. Okay, Ash Tracer from South Korea.
No Sombra from South Korea, which is kind of surprising given that Lip is so good on that Sombra. However, Lip is also very good at the Ash. So, and already putting up a lot of pressure on Nexus here. Nexus does jump back to safety and get that heal. So, the Ana Raymond will be having a little bit of more ult charge here.
Yeah, up here on the Sombra. Trying to get that hack
Oh, good nade onto Bowley there. Okay, Nexus does fall back to see tomorrow. However,
this is actually a good sign. Winston actually keeping safe, staying alive is always a better thing.
also it means that Raymond can also charge her nano really, really quickly. And oh, the Chio into Hook. So the double flanker, the whole point about double flankers is about granting pressure, giving pressure to the opposition backline. However, time and time again, the Atlanta Reign backline duo is proving that they can survive any aggression against them.
South Korea right now, reading where opponent's going to come from. And here's Hope.
Okay, the saving grace here for Chinese Taipei is that Raymond is closing on to that Nano. So the Nano Winston will be viable, but no! Sparkle! No, that was dirty from Sparkle, and Chinese Taipei has to back up and regroup.
And regroup, and they are actually gathering some ult charges. Nano's almost there. Pulse Bomb and Hope EMP is only halfway here, so they do need a lot of time. But still, the thing is, time's ticking. It's already 60% for South Korea.
Nexus is already so low. Okay, the anti is gone, so they can heal them now. And it is going to be the Nano Winston here. Will South Korea be able to survive this? Fielder
First
does fall, which is a first, but is not able to access Lip. And Chio also picks up a kill for himself, and Sparkle firing. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mally actually pushes Sparkle off the edge there, I think. And here's the stick. Actually using that to his own advantage.
What an outplay from Chio there. And, well, okay, so the point was flipped a little bit for the side of Taipei here. However, South Korea does manage to flip it back up, and it is going to be final fight territory for South Korea.
Spraying all over the walls and the boards. Can you say
Fielder gets anti.
For the last chance?
Chio has a good rally to save Fielder and takes out a Hope, which means that it is going to be a fight in the advantage of South Korea. Hope falls with that EMP gun, and it looks like the fight is going to South Korea.
Oh, he immediately brought down that Winston. Has full HP before, but the focus fire from South Korea is just outrageous, and that's a team wipe. And the first control going to South Korea.
Okay, not 100-0, but it is a dominant display from Team Korea here.
And dominant and clean at the same time. We could see the plays, the focus fire that South Korea wanted to have, and oftentimes they were already
that was
links to the back and pulse bomb. Perfect stick there. And this one from Chio. Oh, you should count on the kill feed. No, we all know what happened here.
Yeah, that is definitely a Chio kill over there. But just coming back to South Korea, it was a great display from everyone. Lip was really really good on the Ashe, and Sparkle was good on the Tracer. Winston was also good. The backline almost never died. I think the only death from the backline was just that one death from Fielder.
Oh, and here we go. We literally have the same team comp coming out from both. Tracer, Echo will be the DPSs and everything else. Winston, Ana, and...
So it's going to be an interesting Echo duel from both sides. No Ashe on either side, so it's not going to be the high. It's the fight for the high ground is not going to be as.
Snipe with the beam!
Ooh, Sparkle smoking his opponent, and that nice nade.
Yeah, the anti went into 3 on the back line at the same time. So Taipei again on a run. The thing is, even though that amount of focus fire from South Korea is coming down onto that Winston Nexus, has been surviving not too bad. So I think they just have to consider themselves going around the map slightly more and try to out-rotate South Korea. But of course, South Korea is not going to be really out-rotated on this map, as it is quite easy to read.
And what's difficult for Chinese Taipei here is that they need to find an opening on like a certain point of the map, because South Korea is taking all the geographic terrain advantages that they can get, and they have their ults are going to go to that. Hope also falls again to Sparkle. That was going to be a member deficit for the side of Chinese Taipei. Snow is falling very low. I think he already used the recall. Okay, he'll back up, but the stick up to Snow!
Onto Tracer, that's going to hurt! Oh man, that's like... That's so... I'm lost words, like, onto Tracer. That takes a lot of bull. That's basically saying you are not a match for me. Tracer versus Tracer. Try again.
Okay, Snow does throw the pulse bomb out, but no deaths from South Korea yet. The Fielder is nanoing fairly slow. South Korea wants to spawn camp here. Point percentage going to 71%.
Okay, this could be a chance for the Chinese Taipei, because the Nano's gone, no range, basically no ults available from South Korea. There's the range on Nexus.
Good rally from Chio to keep everyone alive. The South Korean backline is just refusing to fall, and
man.
Nexus falls instead. Maoli has that rally, but will they be able to use it? 88% on the side of South Korea. This is, again, final fight territory for South Korea.
That could have been the one chance for Chinese Taipei, but because they're so far spawn camp, the DPS on the back line, they're so far away from the control point. The Raged Monkey was nearby, but the entire team was so far away from each other.
Maoli has to proc
99.
Oh no! I was about to say the rally, but the rally is gone. No! Sustain. Raymond falls. Raymond doesn't fall yet, but now they fall. And Nexus is perilously low. Hope also.
Snow has to do it. Snow has to do it alone and has to bring a lot of effort, but
Hope is down. Only 2 remain for the side of Chinese Taipei, and they can't touch. It is going to be first map for South Korea.
And when you said hope is down, it sounded like there's no hope anymore for the Chinese Taipei. Wow, that was the first map. And of course, we were expecting this much of a dominance from South Korea, and we've seen it as a lot of 1v1 DPS wins for South Korea. As that usually doesn't happen as much, but because you know the mechanically that you are just outraging, just out dominant, you can basically just pin down your opponent. It happened multiple times, and that's just what it is sometimes.
Yeah, dominant display from South Korea as expected, but getting expectations and living up to those expectations are 2 different things. So credit to South Korea. I think Chinese Taipei had a good plan, but they're just out-executed by South Korea. So I just think that on the side of the Chinese Taipei, I think they just need to kind of work on their execution and most importantly, not get mental boomed. So I think that's going to be most important going into this match. Chinese Taipei now has map type selection and map selection. So it's going to be interesting to see what Chinese Taipei has to come up with.
Yeah, that will be a rough, it'll be the hardest question that you will have in your test. You have this many maps, the 2 modes, and which one are you actually going to choose? So either you just pick the best map on your own, or try to find one weak map from South Korea. That is going to be the big question. And in this case, well, I made one prediction last time, but I'll give up. This time I'll actually give up, and regardless of which map, I think it's going to be more of how Chinese Taipei will be able to bring down each members of South Korea, because so far they have been doing not really being close to, even if they had the Dai didn't really turn out to have that many kills. Instead, they were forced to back off immediately against South Korea. So either they come up with some cheesy plays, or else I don't think it's really going to be working at all.
I agree. For conventional, I guess, compositions, I think South Korea will be covering almost everything. And even though if they do have a little bit of unexpectedness coming into, I think South Korea does have the flexibility to kind of react to that and still be a little bit better. But we'll see. I do think that if Chinese Taipei does want even a little bit of a chance, I think they need to kind of surprise South Korea with something. I don't want to be this brutal, but Korea, if you look at the substitution list for Korea, they have Hanbin and they have Finn on the bench.
That's if you want to have that substitution.
So if you want a diva, they have a Hanbin. If you want a Zen or a double flex, they have Finn.
So you can basically mix and match for any map with this roster. That's exactly another reason why this roster is so strong. Of course, for Chinese Taipei, they do also have a light. You can actually come back in as a DPS, and Tomato, again, another really experienced player actually. From the Chinese Taipei side, so maybe we'll see a lot of substitutions happening for the second map, because they also get to choose the map. So I believe Chinese Taipei, they should have a better idea of the substitution and what they want to do in the second map of their choice.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think Chinese Taipei played badly. Like, it's just like again, they had the right ideas. They just were outplayed by the immense talent that South Korea had. So I think it's also really important that the players that are playing right now understand that they are playing one of the best teams in the World Cup right now, not just in the qualifiers, but across all the regions. And if they can keep this up, they can have the experience they can also drop a win. We don't know anything yet. So they can, as unlikely it may
it's
be.
Very unlikely. We're talking like single digit. Maybe in decimals. Like I want to be honest, because seeing a lot of feed especially from the Korean fans, they're also saying this might be the strongest South Korean team ever. One of the strongest, if not the strongest. So that's going to be a very tough hill to climb for any other team in Group A.
Exactly, and although it's open to a lot of debate on who's going to be your best player / favorite player, there's no denying that this Korean team is full of talent, and that I don't want Chinese Taipei to be disheartened right now, because they're playing pretty well. And like I said, even maybe dropping a map from South Korea, even if they do fall 0-2 today, their level of performance right now is really, really good. So it gives them a chance for them to try and take that other qualifier place.
Yep, and I think with that first win, South Korea might actually just try a few more things, like out of the wild, bring a Widow, even after that big nerf, and bring some more Hanzo. I think that those are open to a lot of other options. They don't really have to match. Having the same matched Echo Tracer from both teams was. I think we're going to be seeing that come a lot in this tournament with the same patch, not just in Ilios and a lot of other maps, because I think Echo with the duplicate, the charge being the fact that you can actually charge the ultimate so much faster now. That's going to boost a lot of Echo plays coming out from the teams.
Yeah, I think this was the first time that Echo was used as intended. Echo did have a rough time earlier today, but I think it was a little bit more of the execution and the team environment around the Echo. I think this was one of the games that, even without the Mercy, that the Echo really thrived, especially against another Echo mirror. And even without other Echoes, I think it would be... I think this is how, if Echo ever thrives because of the buffs, I think this is like... you're witnessing how it is used. And we are getting messages from the production that we are having a lot of substitutions coming.
Oh, that's why we're taking some time before we go into the next map. And as I do see some subs on both sides actually, so we might have to wait on that just a slight more. But Taipei, I think they can take some time to actually cool down a little bit. Okay, we knew that South Korea was going to be very strong. They're indeed very strong mechanically, teamwork-wise. The team comp, it was matched, but the game, we were not matching at all. So honestly, I think taking some feedbacks back, however, what can we actually do and what can we get out of this match? I think that's going to be the realistic, like if I was the coach, I think that's something that we will be talking within the team from Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, like I said, they're not playing that bad. And so I think that most of the things is that, hey, what went wrong is like I said, the idea isn't wrong. It's like what went wrong in an execution point of view.
Yeah, that
and then
too.
they can kind of do a little bit of reviews here, short reviews. And I think the most important thing for Chinese Taipei is that they want to keep their morale up. And here is Circuit Royale. So this is also a escort map. And this is our first time casting Circuit Royale together.
Yeah, because it wasn't here in the map for the contenders. But here it is, as it was a pick from Chinese Taipei. Let's see what kind of team comp they will actually be bringing, because certainly it's a map where you can technically be stuck in that first few meters if you are
if you are
not
spawn
careful,
camped. And also this is a Widow map. I don't yet know how teams will react to the Widow nerfs, because this is a long-range straight map, and there's also some high ground, natural high ground, which makes it a perfect spot for Widows to thrive. With the Widow nerfs, however, I don't know how teams think about it as currently, and this kind of explains a lot for the substitutions here. We see Hanbin here, and also on the side of Chinese Taipei, we see Tomato,
and also Light in here, as we see from UI de Hanbin. In here, and on the other side we do have Snow going out, and Light, the new DPS for Chinese Taipei, and also Tomato instead of Nexus.
Yeah, so this is what we usually see on escort maps as well on both teams. The flex tanks, off tanks usually take over with, and to be honest, right now the typical pick for Circuit Royale would be that Sigma that we're seeing on the side of Taipei. However, Hanbin is going to play on that signature Junker Queen that he is so famous on the Dallas Fuel. Oh, Chio!
What just happened from...
Like, Chio just obliterated Light's Widow off screen. I think they were trying to hide they were hiding somewhere and just...
Okay, no more Widow. Light says, and to Sojourn immediately as Lit.
Okay, Chinese Taipei is it's kind of using a similar composition of what you would usually see on Shambali. And okay, good kill on Lip here. This means that the spawn camp will probably end very, very soon.
Seems like that gate has been broken here. Light getting a second. Chio, great anti again from Ray Momo. They usually led into future kills. Now here's Hope with that Genji. A lot more.
Okay, signs of life for Chinese Taipei so far. But the bright side for South Korea is that Hanbin is already farming that Rampage up. So there was a good anti-knee to Lip, and Lip fell first. So they had the spawn camp was about to end anyways. But the good side for South Korea is that they have key ultimates coming up soon.
And Sparkle still on, again, the DPS. Mirror DPS on both sides. Lib is going to get that sweet headshot onto Light. That's going to force Chinese Taipei all the way to the back.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that how teams... Oh!
What a strike. Through multiple members, I think.
Yeah, that was, I think, 30-20% ult charge in a single strike. So that was... wow, Sparkle doing wonders here. And interesting to see how both teams are thinking of Sojourn, which is the mid-range sniper, as is like a substitution for the Widowmaker.
Yep, and that's how the play is almost here. But before that, here's the Rampage.
The Rampage countered very well by Mauli's sound barrier, so no casualties on the side of Taipei.
Well traded, I would say. Great cover by Mauli.
Now that there's going to be the Sparkle Dragon Blade, it's really interesting to see which team is going to pull the trigger first. Oh, but Sparkle doesn't even need the Dragon Blade. Hope pulls the Dragon Blade, but will they be able to make any kills out of it?
Yeah, but it's without the nano because Rainbow went down a little too fast. Sparkle actually wanted to get that nano early on so that the nano doesn't happen. Fight's still here though.
Oh, Tomato pulled the Annihilation, but was taken out very, very quickly. Fielder making wonders value out of that rally here. And again, Chinese Taipei not making a lot of progress here.
As they, again, might actually be spawn camp now with Soldier from Lip. Doesn't want to be right next to the gates.
Okay, Lip is like, scrap this. I'm gonna do my own healing. And Sparkle still has that Dragon Blade. And Maui does not have the sound barrier or any defensive measures here, so it's going to be a challenge for Taipei to stay alive.
They're all to the side of the corner. Has a blade available. And sound barrier. There's a nano Tomato.
Sparkle doesn't even need to use the blade right now.
Oh, that Tomato was squashed by that Genji.
Light falling very low, has to bring him to spawn. Okay, G-Clip.
Okay, 9 seconds.
Yes, 9 seconds left.
Exactly, that's what I was watching.
Oh no, the Ajax!
Hobbin used
And that is the blade killing nobody. Okay, 2 people, but wow, the Ajax.
Oh, gosh. You guys should see our faces right now.
Oh my god. How many meters?
That's
62.
That's something.
They need a
It's
corner.
Parked. It's
They don't.
parked.
Yeah, it's parked in the
It's
corner.
parked right
Not
next to
even
the
a single block.
Lamborghini, but okay, that was it. As it seemed, what it seemed like Chinese Taipei, it could have been a longer push for sure, but the later fights after losing their DPSs, gets the support. Not enough words, not enough wonders.
I think, yeah, South Korea was using their ult. I mean, it looked like they were having fun, but if you look at it very carefully, they were using their ultimates with very, very high discipline. They were only using the ults that they needed. Sparkle had that Dragon Blade for ages and still didn't use it because he didn't need it to. And those kind of ult discipline is what you need. Even though if you're in a winning match, anything can happen. So, like, credit to Sparkle and Team South Korea.
Hey, unknown. We forgot to mention about Life Weaver buffs. It was a gigantic buff on Life Weaver. We might have it.
I would be
Maybe just to pull the Widow, but you never know. It's Fielder.
Okay, but live with the Genji. Okay.
Okay, Hanbin, Zarya, Sparkle's here. Yeah, that distance slightly more far away.
Chinese Taipei playing a very risky game here because they know that they're trying to spawn camp, but if they fall here, they don't have a lot of chances to defend the payload.
That strike's gonna trigger a fight here. Lip. Smashy survives.
Okay, Liv gets taken down. Have I ever seen Liv been like Genji before?
Maybe it's his first time. Not too quite sure, but Fielder is still staying. Of course, they're still in respawn, but
okay, this spawn camp is actually kind of working for the side of Chinese Taipei, and the the Coalescence is online, so they can use that. Which is
Fielder
used right now.
almost ready. Here's the Graviton. Captures 2. But no following up damage. Might see a tree coming out soon. There it is.
Oh wow, this is sheer violence from the side of South Korea here. Yes, Chinese Taipei did kind of stall them for about like a minute and a half, but in the end, with that Hanbin Graviton surge and the outstanding damage output from all the members of South Korea, actually, even the support players, they managed to break out the barricade.
And 40 meters out, leaving less than 20 meters now for South Korea. Chinese Taipei, they're in position, about to turn the corner.
This is going to be the final fight. If Chinese Taipei lose all the, if they get whipped here,
There's a nano. Blade from
Lip
Lip.
Stand Blade is going to take
Catches
2
and more.
and 3. That
And
will
this is
be
going to be
it.
South Korea grabs their first win in the qualifiers with a dominant performance, 2-0 score.
Wow, what? I mean, I think they were having a little bit of fun. I have to check. Lip. I don't think Lip has ever played Genji on a competitive match before, at least not on the Atlanta Reign, to my recent memory. But still, they do make it able to work because of good positioning and ult usage.
Oh, there's a lot of compliments for this team, as just on paper we could kind of tell. And a lot of you, if you have watched the Overleague and what just happened last week, Mrs. Madness, a lot of these names were playing in that big stage and actually raising that trophy too. So you could tell that this was going to be the dominant team, and you got to see the 2 maps of South Korea so far.
Yeah, a lot of talent expected from this talented lineup here. We have a lot of not just Overwatch League talent, but top Overwatch League talent here. And, well, yes, credit to Chinese Taipei to try to make something happen. Yes, they did that initial spawn camp did kind of work out a little bit because they did stall a minute and a half from South Korea. However, it wasn't enough. But I still think Chinese Taipei can keep their heads up.
Yeah, because this is not going to be the only match that they will play in the group, as we have the match results of the day. Day number 1 from APAC Group A. We do have Group A and Group B. So it's a different group with different countries representing. Match 1 going to Japan 2-0. Oh, surprisingly, we did have all 2-0s today. But we'll have a lot more matches, a lot more plays from all of these teams that you have seen so far. And let's see if the teams that actually lost 0-2, let's see if they can actually bounce back in the group.
Yeah, it's also going to be really interesting to see right now, because right now, all the favorites, all the pre-match favorites are winning. And I do think that what's going to be more interesting is that when the winner meets the winners and the loser meets the losers, it's going to be a really...
Yes, that will eventually happen.
Yes, and I will call it interesting. And, wow, like you said, G-Clef, it is very important to see how the winning teams kind of find a way to see, hey, how are we going to press on the strengths that we've been showing? And if there are a little bit of weaknesses that we've been displaying, how are we going to cover up that? Because teams like Japan and South Korea are going to bite you at any weakness that they have.
They will. At that level, if you show any type of weak play, they will dominate and crunch on your weaknesses. And there's the updated standings after the result of the first day. Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea tied with 1 win. And the map differential, the plus minus that on the right, that's something that you should be looking out for, because that's the map differential.
Yes, and also I don't think that the standings right now is going to be like terribly important at this stage of the tournament. This group is still up for grabs. However, after seeing 1 day of the qualifiers, which isn't a much, so don't hold me too accountable for this. But I do think that South Korea, Japan is going to be the clear favorites for qualifying. And Hong Kong looks really nice so far. So maybe Hong Kong might clinch that 3rd place. However, I do think that 3rd qualifying place is still up for grabs.
Yeah, and on screen, this is next schedule for APAC Group A. Of course, there are going to be other regions happening in just a couple of hours, actually. So you don't actually... even if the stream ends, you can actually just keep this up and it'll be automatically on in a couple of hours.
The skin farm is ongoing.
You never have to leave the channel. It's your dream come true in real life. But for our next schedule for tomorrow, which will be starting at the same time for 6 p.m. KST, starting with Hong Kong versus Philippines. And then the second match, Chinese Taipei versus Japan. Oh, I'm looking forward to these matches.
Yeah, Hong Kong versus Philippines. I think Hong Kong will be kind of favorites coming into this to that matchup, and Japan also going to be favorites for that match against Chinese Taipei. However, both teams have shown that they can do a little bit. They have a lot more to show.
Oh yes. Oh no. What a first day. All 2-0s, but there was filled with a lot of stories, a lot of players. We got to see some of their highlights, some of the good moments, the bad moments. What'd you feel about first day overall?
This is, well, to me, honestly, personally, this is a dream come true, because this is a little bit personal, so, but...
okay, what are you going to say? Now you're making me worried.
I started my career after watching the World Cup in 2018.
Okay.
So
it's a
being
little
on
story
this
time.
stage, actually being able to cast here. Although I do have a lot to go, I do have a lot to learn. It still feels special for me, and the matches today were really, really special.
Yep, and special, but don't mean to cut you off there.
No,
that's
don't
all. Okay,
worry. It's
so
all
yeah,
good.
just for me too, actually being on the World Cup qualifier, it's an honor for me, and we're actually floating in the sky right now, casting at the same time. So that's a hard job for us, and because 2-0, a lot of 2-0s did happen today, but it's only the beginning. It's the first day of 6 days of APAC Group A, and it's also a portion of the all 4 regions that is going to be happening for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of qualifiers. So it's going to be packed Overwatch for the 2 weeks, and you can enjoy the entire thing. Just come at this channel at any time, and most likely it's going to be on with some teams.
Yeah, I mean, like we've mentioned during the start of the cast, other regions with their wonderful casters and wonderful teams as well will be on, and a lot of Overwatch they played. And again, since, like you mentioned, G-Clef, this is only the first day, so there's going to be a lot of adjustments, adaptations, and it's going to get even more fun.
Yep, and for us, that's going to be it. Thank you, Unknown, and this was G-Clef, and thank you everyone for watching Overwatch World Cup 2023 APAC Group A. We'll continue with Day 2 tomorrow, and see you all in Overwatch.